We're all stupid. We're all going to die. During This Week with Stupid, we have 1. Diplomatic immunity. Number 2. Facial recognition to predict criminals. Number 3. Nascar's Bubba Wallace and Noose controversy. And 4. Local government meetings from the sunny Florida. Oh, in the facial recognition section, I have an amazing story. Be sure to check it out. Timecode is in the description. At the end, I promise I will have something to cheer you up a little bit. Breaking news. I had all the recordings done and the video edited, and then this bombshell drops. And being a huge fan, I couldn't ignore it. Simpsons ends use of white actors to voice people of color. Seriously. So, without further ado, diplomatic immunity is stupid. There, I said it. Anna Sakalos, the wife of a US intelligence officer in Britain, killed Harry Dunn, a 19-year-old British man, on 27 August 2019 after running him over. Sakalos admitted that she had been driving the car on the wrong side of the road, and the police said that based on the CCTV footage, they also believed that was the case. Dunn was pronounced dead at the Major Trauma Center in John Radcliffe Hospital, Oxford. The collision became the center of an international diplomatic incident after the United States government advised and then assisted Sakalos to flee the country while claiming diplomatic immunity. What the... So, okay. It's sad and also funny hearing the stories how using this diplomatic immunity, people can get away without paying for parking tickets. In New York, UN officials have racked up $16 million in unpaid parking tickets, while London is owed £100 million in congestion charge fees. But it's not so funny anymore when they get away with murder. Is Anne the first person trying to do so? No. Will she be the first one to get away with it? Hell no. Republic of Georgia diplomat Gregory McCarthy, not sorry for butchering his name, claimed diplomatic immunity after causing a 5-car pileup in Washington, D.C. that killed a teenage girl and injured 4 others. Cops said he was drunk and driving at 90 miles at the time. Initially, the law couldn't touch McCarthy due to his diplomatic status. But with a heavy heart, his home nation decided to waive his immunity so he could face justice in America's court. McCarthy was jailed for 7 years after admitting involuntary manslaughter and aggravated assault. In 2016, the 17-year-old twin sons of Iraq's ambassador to Portugal hit the headlines after they allegedly beat another teen to a pulp in a bar brawl, leaving him in a coma with a fractured skull. Despite 15-year-old Ruben Cavaco's severe injuries, Haider Ali and Rida Ali were immediately released by Portuguese cops due to diplomatic immunity that covered them as well as their dad. The siblings later left the host nation and Iraq withdrew their father, Saad Muhammad Ali, from Lisbon. The diplomat is said to have reached an out-of-court settlement with Ruben's family. P.C. Fletcher of the Metropolitan Police was policing an anti-Gaddafi demonstration outside the Libyan embassy in London when shots were fired from a first-floor embassy window in April 1984. She died in hospital soon after. Although the Libyan government later accepted general responsibility for the shooting and offered compensation to P.C. Fletcher's family, no one has been convicted over her murder. Saudi Arabian diplomat Mazid Hassan Ashur, accused of holding captive and repeatedly raping 2 Nepali maids at his luxury home in India, was able to flee the country under diplomatic immunity. Despite the woman's shocking claims, the diplomat was allowed to leave India without facing prosecution due to his diplomatic privilege, sparking fury in both the country and Nepal. Burmese diplomat Sao Banwat reportedly confronted his spouse Shirley after discovering she was having an affair, with locals reporting hearing a series of gunshots from his residence. Just hours later, Shirley was dead and her body was being cremated in a private Buddhist ceremony. Although Bunwat was initially arrested over the 1967 horror, he was released after invoking his immunity. He never faced a trial and later returned to Burma, leaving behind an unsolved murder mystery. In 1987 in New York City, the Human Resource Administration placed 9-year-old Terence Karamba in a foster home after his elementary school teachers noticed suspicious scars and injuries. He and his 7-year-old sister, who was also placed in city custody, told officials the wounds had been infected by their father, Floyd Karamba, an administrative attaché at the Zimbabwean mission to the UN. No charges were filed as Karamba had diplomatic immunity. On February 1999 in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Kazuko Shimokozi, wife of the Japanese Consul General, showed up at the emergency department of a city hospital with 2 black eyes and a bruised neck. She told doctors that her husband had beaten her. When local police questioned her husband, Mr. Shimokozi said, "Yes, I punched her out and she deserved it," and described the incident as a cultural thing and not a big deal. Although an arrest warrant was issued, Mr. Shimokozi could not be arrested due to his diplomatic immunity. In April 2012 in Manila, Panamanian diplomat Eric Barnol Shacks was accused of raping a 19-year-old Filipino woman, but was later released from detention because Sheikh enjoyed protection under the 1961 Vienna Convention. In October 2013, Russian diplomat Dmitry Borodin was arrested in The Hague, the Netherlands, after neighbors called the police. Borodin was alleged to have been drunk and violent towards his children aged 2 and 4. In June 2014, the New Zealand government confirmed that Mohammed Rizaman bin Ismail from Malaysia, aged in his 30s and employed at Malaysian High Commission in Wellington, had invoked diplomatic immunity when faced with charges of burglary and assault with intent to rape after allegedly following a 21-year-old woman to her home. He returned to Malaysia in May 2014 with his family while the case was still in hearing. Ex-International Monetary Fund IMF chief Dominic Strauss-Kahn cried diplomatic immunity in desperation when he was sued by a US hotel maid who claimed he sexually assaulted her. Sheikh Walid Zufali's supermodel ex-wife made a claim on his £4 billion fortune in a high-profile divorce battle. He used his diplomatic position with a Caribbean island to try to stop her. A judge at the High Court wasn't convinced though. Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Thani's luxury Ferrari was filmed racing a Porsche through the Hollywood neighborhood of Beverly Hills, California. He claimed diplomatic immunity. But before police could make the necessary checks, the 29-year-old Sheikh, a member of Qatar's ruling family, who have been dubbed the patron Sheikh of drag racing, fled the US. Diplomats and officials involved in drug smuggling have benefited from diplomatic immunity. For example, a Venezuelan general wanted in the United States on drug charges was arrested in Aruba only to be released after the Venezuelan government protested his diplomatic immunity and threatened sanctions if Aruba did not release him. Honestly, I can make this an hour video just talking about all the abuses and offenses these people get away with it. Normally one would assume that one is safe, but knowing all these stories, I just want to be far away from any of these people. Back to Harry Dunn. Is anything ever likely to come out of it? Well, unlikely that USA will extradite their own citizen once helping her escape. I won't hold my breath. Which reminds me, I wonder if I can get diplomatic immunity as well. Facial recognition to predict criminals sparks row over AI bias. Harrisburg University researchers said their software can predict if someone is a criminal based solely on a picture of their face. The software is intended to help law enforcement prevent crime, it said. But 1,700 academics have signed an open letter demanding the research remain unpublished. Is this the first time anything like this was proposed? Oh no. In the 19th century, Cesare Lombroso and his followers performed autopsies on criminals and declared that they have discovered similarities between the physiologies of the bodies and those of primitive humans such as monkeys and apes. Lombroso postulated the theory of the born criminal based on these physical characteristics. Moreover, he also declared that the female offender was worse than the male as they have distinct masculine characteristics. Lombroso outlined 14 physiognomic characteristics which he and his followers believed to be the common in all criminals. Now, I would like you to note how many of these are applicable to you. Unusually short or tall height, small head but large face, fleshy lips but thin upper lip, bumps on head, in back of head and around ear, bumps on head, particularly above left ear, wrinkles on forehead and face, large sinus cavities or bumpy face, tattoos on body, receding hairline, large incisors, bushy eyebrows tending to meet across nose, large eye sockets but deep-set eyes, beaked or flat nose, strong jawline, small and sloping forehead, small or weak chin, thin neck, sloping shoulders but large chest, large protruding ears, long arms, high cheekbones, and finally, pointy or snubbed fingers or toes. So how many did you get? I think I got at least 9. Lombroso published several works regarding his work. Despite general rejection of his theories, anthropological criminology still finds a place of sort of modern criminal profiling. Historically, particularly in the 1930s, criminal anthropology has been associated somewhat with eugenics, as the idea of physiological flaw in the human race was often associated with plans to remove such flaws. This was particularly in America with the American eugenics movement between 1907 and 1939 and the anti-miscegenation laws, and also in Germany during the Third Reich. We also have lie detector. Now, despite what you see in the movie, polygraphs are not real. No one claims the tests are 100% accurate, but lie detectors can be and are used in the UK. Unfortunately, they are used in the UK by the probation service. Police can use polygraphs to assist in investigations and monitor certain high-risk individuals, but the results cannot be used in the court to prove a case in the UK. I might do a video on debunking it, but as it's legal for an employer to offer a lie detector test, do remember it needs to be optional. You might want to know how to fool the test. Simply put, it only works when you believe it works. That's all. Back to the research we are looking at. Now, before debunking it, can we just clear something up? Having a criminal thought is not the same as carrying out such criminal activity. I had a Karen experience a couple of weeks ago where she brought her husband over to beat me up, and the guy was built like a tank. When she threatened me and so, I thought to myself, okay, the hubby will come around, we will laugh and that's it. But no, the husband was just as much as a Karen as the wife. Anyway, finally, instead of beating me up, he left. Now, both assault and battery are criminal offenses. He committed assault by the threat of violence, but didn't commit battery. And being a reasonable person, I didn't see any reason to charge him with verbal provocation. Similarly, I have also had criminal thoughts and never acted on it. If you're not a saint, I'm sure you would also have similar experience. I haven't done any major crimes, but minor ones, sure. Haven't been to prison, but did get caught smoking weed. And I did sail the high seas at my younger days. So with that said, what if my photo is passed to the system? According to the article, it can predict if someone is a criminal. That's a binary prediction, right? It will either determine that I'm a criminal or I'm not. Well, piracy is criminal, so technically that prediction would be correct. In the same way, if I call everyone over 18 a criminal, I would be correct. What if it determines that I'm not a criminal? Does that mean I'm unable to commit a crime? For most people, it's their ethics and consequence that stops them. But we are capable. If I do go and commit some crime, does my facial structure change? Does it affect in any way how I look? Well, it depends. But if there were no altercation, it's pretty safe to say that I would look the same. Keeping that in mind, how can the software define me as a criminal now? It would still say non-criminal, right? And thus you understand how it's not possible without bias. That bias might be my skin color, if I have tattoos or piercing, maybe even my grooming. Regardless, even neural network wouldn't help. I'd like to finish this segment with a story. A long time ago, over 2,500 years, on the banks of the river Indus lived a great scholar and astrologer named Panini. By the grace of Lord Shiva, his wife delivered a healthy son. The son came to be known as Panini, the offspring of Pani. The little boy was very active and was the apple of his parents' eyes. He grew up to be a sweet child. One day, a great scholar, astrologer and palmist visited Pani. Pani and his family treated the great man courteously. He was served the best food and was treated with the best services. After lunch, the great man called the child Panini and asked him to sit with him. Panini readily agreed and sat with the great man. The great man looked at the right palm of the child. He sat there gazing at the palm for several minutes. The expression on his face changed from that of cheerfulness to that of concern. Looking at the change, Pani inquired the great man about what was bothering him. The great man looked at Pani with pitiful eyes and said, "Oh, Pani, my friend, you are such a renowned scholar, and people around the world come to you for advice. Alas, fate has it that this child of yours will remain illiterate. He has no education line on his palm." Pani could not hold his grief. He closed his eyes and muttered under his breath, "If the Lord wishes it to be, so be it." Panini, who was listening to the conversation, gently asked the great man, "Sir, could you please tell me where on my palm would the education line be, if it had been?" The great man showed the child the location of the education line on his own palm. He felt sympathetic towards the child, who was so well-mannered and soft-spoken. The child ran out of the house and returned back in a few minutes. He held out his right palm and asked the great man, "Will I be a scholar now? Will I be able to uphold my father's name?" The great man and Pani looked at the child's hand and were shocked. Blood was oozing out of the palm, and where there had to be the education line, there was a deep line which was etched with a sharp stone. The two men had no words. This kid grew up to be an ancient Sanskrit philologist, grammarian, and a reverend scholar in ancient India, considered to be the father of linguistics. I don't need to explain my point, do I? If you have missed the news earlier, there were reports that on Sunday, a noose was found in Nascar's current series only black driver, Bubba Wallace's team garage. As a couple of weeks ago, Nascar banned Confederate flags from its races and properties. Some did try to connect the dots. After the initial report of the news, there was a huge swelling of support from everyone. On Monday's race, even before any facts were known,
it was this unforgettable stretch before the green flag dropped that will likely serve as an enduring image for generations of NASCAR fans.
That image will stay with me. This morning I woke up and saw it, and I literally had to replay it a couple of times.
Little moment of darkness leading to such a beautiful moment in the light, and I think that's the image that's going to stick with people.
Both NASCAR and FBI launched an investigation. But in a statement on Tuesday, US authorities said an investigation had concluded no federal crime was committed. Video evidence has revealed that Noose had been in the garage as early as October 2019, and nobody could have known Mr. Wallace would be assigned to the stall, according to a joint statement from U.S. Attorney and FBI Special Agent. Nascar said the FBI had concluded Wallace was not the target of a hate crime, and the item was a garage door pull rope fashioned like a noose. However, a defiant Wallace said there was no confusion and the rope had been fashioned into a noose, a symbol connected to lynching and America's slave history.
They gave me the lowdown of all the investigation and research they have completed and found out that that it was a garage pull, but it in fact was a noose. It was not a functioning noose, but it was a noose. And whoever had the time to create that and tie it up like that, just they were skeptical about it. I don't know when we'll get to the point to release that image, but it's anybody sees it, then it's alerting, and it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand.
As the drama was unfolding, many started to compare Bubba Wallace with Justice Smollett, again before any of the facts were made public. For a while, Bubba Smollett was trending in Twitter. Little moment of darkness leading to such a beautiful moment in the light. Am I the only one who's still seeing the dark side? Don't get me wrong, at current climate that solidarity is heartwarming. But is it worth the cost? Personally, I think Bubba Wallace made an honest, stupid mistake. We have all done that. But we know how this kind of mistake creates an environment where any similar allegations would be met with unwarranted skepticism. I dread to think what Fox News is feeding its right-leaning audience right now. Simpsons ends use of white actors to voice people of color. Full disclosure, I'm an avid Simpsons fan. We're talking about the early seasons here. I remember my astonishment when I found out Bart was voiced by a middle-aged woman. Blew me away. And I love Hank Azaria's work, even when he's playing Kahmun Ra. I'm not from India, and apparently I have an Indian accent, which bugs me to no end. Where Hank does a wonderful job as Apu. Much better than what I can do. Replacing him with someone who's brown is stupid and racist. US comedian Aziz Ansari once turned down a role in 2007's Transformer because he refused to do an Indian accent. Imagine getting the gig and finding out that you didn't get it because you were talented, but because you were brown. If it's me, I would just walk out of that place. That is bloody dumb and kind of expected. Local government meeting from the sunny Florida.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And we the people are waking up, and we know what citizen's arrest is, because citizen's arrests are already happening, okay? And every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity. Every single one of you have a smirk behind that little mask, but every single one of you are going to get punished by God. You cannot escape God. You cannot escape God. I'm going to say that again. You cannot escape God, not even with the mask or 6 feet. Okay? 6 feet, like I said before, is military protocol. You're trying to get the people to train them so when the cameras, the 5G comes out, what? They're gonna scan everybody. We gotta get scanned. We gotta get temperatured. The kids have to go to school with masks. Are you insane? Are you crazy? I think all of you should be in a psych ward right the heck now, because none of you know what the hell you are all talking about. This is insane. And then you want to open this meeting with a prayer to God. Are you praying to the devil? Because God is not listening to that prayer, because all of you are practicing the devil's laws. What happened to Bill Gates? Why is he not in jail? Why is Hillary Clinton not in jail? Why are all of these pedophiles that are demanding you all to listen to their rules? Why are they not in jail? Oh, is it because you're part of them? Are you part of the deep state?
Your time has expired.
The deep state is going down. And if any of you are in the deep state, you're going down with it.
Seriously, Are these people going around to every single county commissioner meeting to get their voices heard? For this woman, first it was about everyone getting arrested for crimes against humanity. Then it was about not escaping God. So is it God who would be arresting everyone? If not, once they have paid for their crimes, would that not mean that there would be no further punishment? And what would any conspiracy be without 5G? What kind of cuckoo materials do these people consume? They should be watching this video instead. And what the hell does Bill Gates or Hillary Clinton has to do with it? I'm surprised that she didn't throw Obama in that mix. And then she uses the P word. Damn woman? I do think someone should be in a psych ward though. Any guesses?
At the end, I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
This is far the best reason I've heard. I'll give you that. You go, girl. Commando is the future.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door.
Where do you derive the authority to regulate human breathing? I ask you this because this is very important. You all are playing doctors, and you're not. And God gave us the very breath that we are to breathe. I would also like to know, where do you get the authority to reduce my oxygen? Who made you perpetrators over my life? It is appalling that each and every one of you sitting up there as human beings, part of the human race, the only race that we have, would suggest to muffle people, to put masks on our face, to keep us from breathing oxygen, to get us to become sickly. Now, there's so much evidence. The CDC itself said they made a mistake. There's not enough to make this a pandemic. This is a planned-demic. This is totally political, and you know it.
I bet she was super excited when she came up with plandemic. Just to clarify, I couldn't find any references to her claim regarding CDC. To be fair, US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention CDC acknowledged it had mixed together results from COVID-19 viral and antibody tests on its website. 11 states also confirmed mixing viral and antibody test results, according to CNN report. The CDC said it is planning to separate those numbers in the coming weeks, but experts believe the current method is potentially misleading. That's it. I really want to be mean to her. On screen you can see daily change for new cases in Florida. And next to it, you can see daily change in UK. Now, we haven't done a good job containing this pandemic over here. Our people are almost as stupid as your people, with the keyword being almost. A worldwide death of 490,000 and still rising. You think this is a freaking political pandemic? Well, woman, and you disgrace. With all the stories of Florida man and Florida woman, this doesn't surprise me at all. In these videos, we have seen chart for coronavirus deaths in UK. About 800 people died this week so far from this virus, with daily confirmed slightly lower than last week. Again, if this is due to the weather, I hope it stays warm for longer. At the time of recording, our new cases almost doubled. Against all common sense, I'm hoping that we will not see a rise in the graph. After all the stupidity, to cheer you up, this week my recommendation is Mr. Deity and the Atheist. I have been a fan of Mr. Deity for many years, and in this episode, we also have another of my favorite, Richard Dawkins. There are 6 seasons and are really good. Check it out, links down in description. Well, that's all for this week with Stupid. Please let me know what your thoughts are, especially regarding the AI program in the comments below. If you have liked this content and want to show your support, liking the video would be a great start. And maybe subscribe as well, as during this genesis of the channel, it is really vital. So please, if you disliked it, thumbs down and please let me know why. And please subscribe as well. It will give you notifications on new videos that you can disagree on. You will find similar contents in my other videos. Stay safe. Signing off.